Hey everyone, and welcome to Darkson Gaming. My name is Chris, and in today's video, I am sitting here with Swipe the Stone. Swipe, go ahead and say hello.
What's up, my lovely crew? It's Swipe here, and hello to the Darkson Gaming crew as well.
All right, excellent. Well, so pretty much what we wanted to talk about today is we wanted to talk about the health of Dokkan, the health of mobile gaming, and all the gotcha games that are out there. Because this video originally kind of started off to talk about the kind of the desert or whatnot that you keep seeing all the memes for of how dry Dokkan seems to be, and we really thought that it was going to be some real world stuff that was affecting it. And in reality, it's kind of something completely different that we ended up finding out. I mean, what was your original take on that, Swipe?
Originally, I came to this conversation basically, and I would, you would think that, given the current global conditions and what's going on, I don't need to mention it. I originally thought that it would affect everything negatively in Dokkan Battle. I thought revenue would be at a loss. I thought interaction would be at a loss. But surprisingly, we found that it's actually quite the opposite.
Yeah, it really is. And it's something that's going to be pretty interesting as we kind of break down. And what we want to do is we're going to talk about what actually happened in 2019 with Dokkan and some of the results from that and how we could pinpoint that through. And then talk about mobile gaming as a whole and how the Japan and the global industry really is handling the not only the pandemic and some of that stuff and how it directly affects mobile gaming with the revenue and downloads that comes with that, and then kind of wrap it up then on Dokkan, and then maybe a little bit of our thoughts on the future of Dokkan as we kind of move forward here. But first, one thing that should be really important to mention is that Dokkan Battle in 2019 actually passed the 2 billion lifetime revenue mark, which is an amazing accomplishment in the time frame that we've had. I mean, here we are in uh, uh, 5 years later from the time that the game has come out, about 5.5 years, almost 6 years for Japan, and it's pretty amazing. And there was an article that we were able to find from Matthew Ford, and pretty much what he goes into is just that Dokkan had a record revenue year in between this standpoint, which was pretty surprising, with 109 million gross revenue made in February of 2019. So when you first heard that, Swipe, what was your thought process when you heard that?
Well, first of all, that's a very large number. Um, I never expected the game to exceed $1 billion, but I was pleasantly surprised when I read it. And the thing that really made me think a lot was their operation costs versus how much that they actually bring in. They really know what they're doing as far as running a business. Their operational cost is not even a tenth of what they're generating. I mean, they're just swimming in it. There's just no other way to put it.
Yeah, and I mean it really was pretty amazing. And when Global actually hit their first $1 billion, it just kind of put in context with Dokkan. Zamasu and Trunks were on Global, and AGL Metal Cooler was on JP, and that was not necessarily their highest month that they had at that time frame. That was that February 2019 when they hit the 109 million, and in between that time period is really when they had that. It was on Global, uh, was the Broly movie going on, and for JP it was the LR Super Saiyan 4s that had just hit. So that was again pretty interesting. That was kind of going head to head against LR Fusions and on JP, and then Super Saiyan 3 Broly and Super Vegito Physical on Global in 2018. So as you can kind of tell, that was the difference how they were able to succeed from that point. And then in July of 2019, they made another 75 million, which again would have turned around and had it be our time for the fusions. And it obviously just sales were just going crazy. That's how we were able to surpass that 2 billion mark. And a pretty exciting time for people within the Dokkan community, obviously, to have that much success.
Can never doubt the anniversary, man. Generating 75 million just from a digital card game. I mean, just to break it down into layman's terms.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, we always talk about the 350 million download celebration is what we thought we were going to get this time, and how people have been
Correct.
questioning downloads in general. Well, in 2019, there were 57 million downloads that happened. Now, what's interesting is Japan made up 18% of that, with the United States being 16% and Brazil being 15%. When the Brazil one's one kind of surprised me because I was expecting it to be France.
You know, as we all know, France loves to get top grossing for global constantly. I think there's only been less than a handful of times that France has not hit top grossing in there. But through my time, surfing through the Discord and linking up and meeting with people, I have noticed quite a few people from Brazil actually that I've gotten to speak with, and they are about their Dragon Ball.
They most
There's
certainly are.
no joke about that.
Yeah, and really when you break it down, if you take that 57 million versus what the total revenue was for 2019, that's roughly about $35 per download, which is about what the price is for a any type of a game that you would just buy for a console.
Well, exactly, and that means on average everybody was at least buying at least one of the sales packs.
Right.
If you could, you know, place it in that arena or anything like that. So a lot more interaction was happening, and I'm sure that they base a lot of projections off of that as well. I mean, if don't have as much interaction, a good example of that would have been the I know we're going back a little bit, bear with me. Um, when the Kid Goku card released, I'm I believe we did not hit top grossing for that. His reception here on the global side was nowhere near as strong as Japan received him. They love Dragon Ball.
And that's what's interesting is that the Kid Goku, that intelligence one, it was hours in JP and they hit top grossing sales. I mean, it was absolutely ballistic. But the problem was is that, and I guess one of the downfalls with global, and you call it downfall or maybe you call it a perk, that on the global side we knew the next two or three banners that were going to be coming, so we were like, oh no, we want to wait for that next card, whatever one was going to be the one after that Kid Goku. I can't remember it right now, but we would have
That's
been.
the foresight.
Yeah, it's that foresight. Exactly right. I mean, that's the thing that's very impressive with it, and right now you can really kind of see between each quarter the revenue that happens, and you can see it's almost always that first quarter and third quarter, which is the JP anniversary and the anniversary for global is most definitely where they're at for total sales and how everything kind of brings across on that standpoint. So it really breaks it down, and sensorytower.com is a great place that gives a lot of this information out. You could check it through a lot of different of the articles, which we do have the links to all these articles in the descriptions below in case you guys want to read them for yourself and be able to kind of break it down and understand exactly some more aspects as far as what ends up happening. Now, what really was interesting to me is kind of moving along a little bit further past just Dokkan in 2019, bringing into Japan. And Japan was able to actually make up 22% of the market in 2020. And it's pretty interesting because in an article from August 11th by Craig Chappell, he actually goes through and breaks down the different quarter revenue for mobile gaming. And he actually ends up writing two articles on this, but one that was really interesting is the Q1 2020 saw a 39% increase in downloads, with player spending increasing to 16% for an entire industry growth of $17.5 billion for just mobile games, which is that's where, Swipe and I, the first time we looked at it, we're like, are you kidding me? I mean, we were expecting it to start tanking because that would have been at the time the pandemic would have started getting
Correct.
worldwide at that point.
Yeah, and that was my initial thought process was people were losing their jobs. Work was hard to come by. Everything was shut down. I figured people would be, holding real tight to whatever they had, but you got to look at the other flip side of that. They're stuck at home with absolutely nothing to do. So, what better thing to do than play your favorite mobile game? Do a couple of summons here and there. Why not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then even Q2, which would have seen the rest of the world starting to come down lockdown orders and different things of that nature, there was
A
another
lot.
rise of 44.4% in just downloads. So
Yep.
again, just amazing time. The but yeah, I mean, even when you're breaking everything down from quarterly downloads from 2016 through 2020, it's pretty staggering. I mean, you're talking about almost a tripling in total downloads in that 4 year period. Now, when it comes down to the player spending, we talk about July 2020. I mean, that's when we started having the global side of the game hitting the um, a lot of large things we're going through. Obviously, we had the blue fusions that downloaded here. The entire mobile game industry saw a rise in 28% of sales for that revenue growth, which is pretty interesting on that standpoint. Again, you're talking about where a lot of people were going to be down, and you could just see that quarterly revenue growth for the industry just creeping on up.
Basically, it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going, and there's pretty much nothing that's going to stop the growth of this game. It appears.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's pretty interesting because there's a lot of different things that kind of goes into the actual the how the game's going to go through. And I know a lot of times people have talked, actually was listening to a couple different content creators as they were mentioning the importance of how Dokkan has been taking all of our advice and computing it and trying to get all that information to go through. It doesn't happen overnight for them to turn around and say, oh, they really want to have a heroes event. So let's go ahead and throw a heroes event next week. I mean, they have to plan things out for years at a time, or not years at a time, months at a time. But they probably already have information ready to go. I would probably say through Saiyan Day. Would you agree with that, Swipe?
Uh, yeah, I could go with that. I mean, they do pre-plan pretty well into the future. A good example of that was the Super Saiyan 4s. I mean, almost everybody knows that, judging by their animations and graphics, they were pre-planned for quite a while before they came out, because there were units that had surpassed them, animation wise by that point. So yeah, they're no dummies. They're definitely planning maybe up to 6 months in advance. And also something else I noticed, just real quick. I know Android Android users make up over half of all the downloads and all the revenue here. I didn't realize there was such a disparity between the two.
Yeah, it seems like there's definitely a break when it comes to the way the revenue and everything kind of breaks out. And I know just in the United States, obviously the way mobile games has been going through, I believe Dokkan is categorized as a simulation. Is that correct, or is it a strategy?
It's simulation, and I
Okay.
I think it's due to the bubble popping.
You gotta pop the bubbles. It's bursting. Bursting is the correct terminology that we like to use.
Oh,
Um,
pardon me.
and I mean, really, when you're looking at the first 6 months, I mean, just in simulation, you could talk about in the United States probably a large part of that being Dokkan because the simulation in the United States for mobile games was 131 million dollars in the month of June. So that's huge. I mean, obviously you're going to have other types. You're going to have the casino games. Everybody loves their casino games. Puzzle games. That's going to be like your Candy Crushes and strategy games like Clash of Clans. Those types of things are going to, they're popular. They're out there. There's a list that we'll show you here in a little bit that really kind of breaks everything down that way. But I mean, the simulation, you don't see a whole lot of other games and stuff that are like that outside of Dokkan, which again just continues to go through with that growth. The
I
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, I was just gonna say the top five grossing games in the United States is Roblox, which I have no idea what that game is. Candy Crush Saga, which I think I got to level 50 and quit. uh, Coin Master. I want to know what this Coin Master game is because it's number one everywhere.
That's a casino game. It's just like slots.
So that's huge. I mean, everybody seems to be going nuts on that one. And then Fortnite and Gardenscapes was is up there. I mean, I expected Fortnite to be up there and Candy Crush, really, but Roblox I wasn't really sure of. And Gardenscapes, my son actually just downloaded on his iPad and has been messing around on that thing, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I
I
don't
was
know.
gonna say Roblox definitely is something my kid is into right now, and that Among Us. My God, that's everywhere.
Among Us is yes. Among Us is because it's a free app, but you could everybody's all about customization. They want to be able to buy a hat to make themselves look different than everyone else, and that is a really big aspect, which does come down to be pretty interesting. That's for sure. Um,
Imagine if they had that in Dokkan, unique identifiers, or maybe like profile pics like we do in Discord. I wonder how well that would be received.
that would be an interesting thing. I think that is something that Dokkan Battle could probably jump on top of and maybe custom make your own wallpapers.
Oh boy.
I could see them tapping into that.
All right.
So, but
Back to the subject. Sorry, I got off track there.
no, hey, that's all right. That's why we just start the conversations and kind of go from that point. But a lot of times people will say, okay, well, what does the forecast look like? We all know how the state of the world is and all these different things. You know, how do we think mobile games are going to go through? Well, Apple is actually projecting an 8.5% annual growth through 2024, and Google Play is
Correct.
talking about 10.2% annual growth through 2024, which means they are not expecting this to drop at all.
I personally think those numbers are low. I think they're trying to be conservative.
Yeah,
I
they've
think
got
it'll
it. I
be
mean,
I think it'll be a little bit higher than that, judging by what we've seen and read.
yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the growth. I mean, they're talking about come 2024, mobile gaming could be a $98 billion revenue generator, and not mobile. Mobile games as a whole, not just Dokkan. This is
Correct.
everything combined, and that's
Yep.
just staggering to me. A $98 billion industry that started from Atari, Pong.
Well, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just kind of waiting on the next thing. But yeah, no, I mean it's that was pretty much everything that Craig Chappell had talked about in his August 11th article, and then come October 16th, then he was able to turn around and talk a little bit more again about Bandai Namco specifically and Dokkan Battle. So as far as in 2020, okay, the first 9 months, you're talking about the top two of the top 10 earning publishers globally were Bandai Namco and Square Enix, with Bandai Namco being $1.5 billion and Square Enix at $1.2 billion, with billion-dollar franchises including things such as Fate Grand Order, Aniplex, Dokkan Battle, Disney's Sum Sum, Monster Trike, and Puzzles and Dragons. So I mean, you've got Dokkan on a very short list against some pretty big properties there.
That made me just think about. I wonder how Genshin is doing. I'll have to look that up
Genshin
later.
Genshin is up there. I know that there was some information in one of the articles. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but I know that there was something specific about Genshin about how it was I believe it's a Chinese based company that has that, and it kind of expands out from that point. But they were expecting Genshin to be up there very big because they basically in the first I want to say it was in the first like 5 weeks they basically recouped all costs that it took to develop the game. I want to say
I don't doubt that.
yeah, it was an extremely short period of time, which I mean that's a property you want. Really looking at a breakdown though, when you talk about the global game revenue market, in 2020 you got 22% coming from Japan, 28% coming from the United States, 18% from China, 6% from South Korea, and then the 25% remaining is all other countries in the world is what's making that up. And it kind of stays pretty balanced throughout everything. I mean, obviously China has really started getting that grasp into it. South Korea's pretty much stayed in that 6, 7, 8% mark. They've actually dropped down to about 6%. United States again kind of went through a low period there in 2016, 2017, but then spiked right back up to 28%. But Japan does seem to be losing its threshold because I think so much money was coming from Japan for so long. We constantly hear about how Japan is like the driving force for the games.
They do. They hold. What was it here?
What was it, 57%?
8 of the top 10 revenue generating games in Japan were from actual Japanese publishers, and the overall one that's generated the most, and that includes in the App Store and the Google Play Store, and overall is Monster Strike.
Yeah, Monster Strike is huge. Sensor Tower actually has that as from Q1 of 2016 to Q3 of 2020. Monster Strike is number one across overall revenue, App Store, and Google Play, with Fate Grand Order, Puzzles, and Dragons being the top three across the board. Now, what's interesting is Dokkan Battle overall revenue is fourth amongst those
Mm-hmm.
in that time period, and then in App Store and Google Play is fifth. So it's kind of interesting they're able to beat out the ones right above them in the App Store and the Google Store combined, which is pretty interesting. But yeah,
They beat out they beat out Pokemon Go, for
yeah,
goodness
which
sake.
and you know what? Niantic is a American-based publisher. However, the property is still from Japan. So I mean, you could argue that they have that Japan has almost the full sweep all the way across to the top performing mobile games, so to speak.
8 out of 10 is pretty damn good.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, with those top generators again coming from with Bandai Namco at 1.5 billion. I mean, a big portion of that is from Dokkan. I mean, in 2019, Dokkan generated 273.6 million dollars outside of Japan. Fate Grand Order made 273.3 million. So technically, Dokkan did beat Fate Grand Order outside of Japan. It is not technically they did. I mean, by 300,000.
Yeah, just by a little bit, but still that counts.
I mean, that's where it goes. And now when you're talking about okay, 2019 coming into today within 2020, I mean, obviously we see a lot of different things making it up. I mean, we do have a large increase of 10 over 10% from Q2 to Q1 in 2020, with really the most revenue kind of peaking in May at $6.6 billion, which was actually up 21.5% over year from the previous year. But even looking at February 2020, of all the top games, okay, so when we kind of get ready to go into this pandemic, everything's kind of going from that standpoint. Uh, Dokkan Battle's fifth overall. It was eighth on the
Awesome.
App Store and seventh in Google Play. I mean, fifth is a heck of a number to be total revenue.
So, so in conclusion to this, what is your outlook overall? Basically, where do you think we're gonna go?
Honestly, I think that there's gonna be some new things that are gonna be added in. I do think some form or fashion of um, player versus player is probably going to get added in. I know a lot of people are scared to death of it, but I think Dokkan, I know, has a new person leading the way for it. I think that's why we've kind of seen some things that have changed up a little bit. I think they've been focused on something big that is going to be coming out, which is probably going to be the 6 year anniversary, probably when they could be introducing some of that. But I think, yes, it's dry right now, but is it really? I mean, sometimes you have to do things for the newer players, and this celebration we've got now for the Halloween, I love it. I mean,
Oh yes.
I
And
think it's a good celebration. I hear some people really dogging it, like, oh man, I got everything done in one day. Well, that's true, but there's a lot of people that we have to remember just started probably in the 5 year anniversary or the worldwide download celebration that just came back. So they don't have some of these units, and having it really a banner that has all your Dokkan Fest units from 2020 is a heck of a thing to do.
That's what I was trying to tell people earlier. I said there may not be a new unit on there, but this is the first time that they've tried something like this. They're watching. They want to see what kind of reaction that we get. And that's another thing that I noticed. They're more responsive to our wants and desires and dislikes. It seems so. That must be due to the change of command. But I personally do not mind this banner, and I hope that they continue to make it a thing for Halloween celebration. Like you said, it's a fantastic way to catch up on if you don't have the unit. Even if you have all the units on that banner, dupes never hurt anybody.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And the whole entire thing right now to be super successful in explosive chain battle is to have those extra units. Spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen the video yet, I actually pulled my second dupe of LR, Goku, and Frieza off of the double rates banner. And my first one I actually bobbed, and that was before explosive chain battle understood. I'm sure at some point that card is going to be beneficial, and I can keep them in their SSR or TUR state. That if they're a special unit, they're going to be perfect. So I always recommend to people not to bob with those units right away because look at the family Kamehameha units. They were, if you had all six of those guys popping up, you were golden.
Pretty much.
So
And
I mean,
that's
it's
the
it's
lovely thing about it. The name restriction is non-existent. I've You can literally run the exact same card at the exact same level, rainbow, identical, and it will still take it. I
see. I didn't
tried a
know it could
few.
do that. I thought I had it still be at least in a different state.
Um, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
quote me on that. Never mind. I'll take that. I won't. I won't. I won't put that one out there with 100% certainty, but I'll test it the next time.
well. And then not only that, I mean, we even have virtual clash going on right now, which you could take two of the exact same units into that, have them as your 1-2 leads. Bam, there you go. It's just like bringing a friend. Same restrictions. They're not going to be able to be buddy up against each other, but you're going to get that leader skill. So again, not everybody is necessarily going to want to do that, but on some of your top tier units, I don't think that's a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. But I see a very positive outlook for Dokkan Battle going forward. And then not only that, we have to look at what's going to be coming up. We've got uh, uh, Gotenks, and we've got the Evil Boo Exchange Boo unit that's coming out. We've got Blue Grow Bros. We've got Jiren that's coming out. Um, a lot of things on JP's side. They're getting ready to drop Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. That's going to go in the first couple hours that they're going to hit top grossing.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that. I am definitely looking forward to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. And it just goes to show you anything. Dokkan Battle is just keeps increasing in strength.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that's gonna be, I guess, kind of winding down the video, I think, and otherwise, so I think I like this. This was fun. I hope this was a different type of video for you guys. Tried to make sure that we get something that was a little more of a breakdown and let you guys kind of know some of our thoughts in regards to really where we were coming from with Dokkan, mobile gaming in general in 2020. Because again, you've been hearing some of those rumors that, oh well, Dokkan's not going to last, or it's only got about a year or two left. I'll tell you what, a top 10 overall revenue generating game, I would say it's got 4 years at least when they're talking about a steady, almost 10% increase in an industry. And if they're in the top nine, I'm going to say this game's got at least 4 years left in it.
I would have to agree. Also, thank you for having me over here, and I appreciate having you over here as well.
Oh yeah, it's great to be on your channel. It's the first collab I've done, and it's been fabulous. I mean, this is a great community that we're a part of. I mean, everybody likes working with each other and helping each other out. And for our love of Dragon Ball, I mean, you're talking about a franchise that's been around for 35 years, and you never know. Maybe our kids are going to turn around and be making videos about it, in the future when our channels are theirs.
God willing. Thanks, Darkson Gaming crew. I appreciate you.
All right, and thank you
And
very
thank
much,
you.
Swipe the Stones. Uh, Happy you guys come with us, but I guess that's it. That's our video.
You guys have a good one.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.